checking the forecast, things looking crazy. A storm on the horizon, the pressure is low. Gotta get moving, put on a show. The news is all buzzing, state of alert, but we've got a plan, we're ready to work. Emergency Management Associates, we're here for the crisis, we're here for the phase. From the first sign of trouble to the all-clear sign, we're on the front lines, we're one of a kind. Emergency Management Associates, we're the calm in the chaos, we're opening gates, connecting the dots and making the calls. We're picking you up when you're starting to fall. See a little fire or a rising flood, we're a well-oiled machine, we're running in the mud. From the city hall meetings to the rescue teams, turning worst case scenarios into hopeful dreams. We're training the people, we're stocking the gear, we're the team you can count on when trouble is near. Emergency Management Associates, we're here for the crisis, we're here for the phase. From the first sign of trouble to the all-clear sign, we're on the front lines, we're one of a kind. Emergency Management Associates, we're the calm in the chaos, we're open the gates, connecting the dots and making the calls. We're picking you up when you're starting to fall. It's more than a job, it's a calling, you see. Prepared for the present and what's yet to be. Every second counts, we're ready to react for our communities. We're making an impact. Emergency Management Associates, we're here for the crisis, we're here for the fates. From the first sign of trouble to the all-clear sign, we're on the front lines, we're one of a kind. Emergency Management Associates, we're the calm in the chaos, we're opening gates, connecting the dots and making the calls. We're picking you up when you're starting to fall. Yeah, we're picking you up, we're ready to go. Let's get this show on the road.
Let's get this show on the road, guys. What do you think? Let's do this thing here. My name is Ron Tyler. I'm the president of Emergency Management Associates. We're here for the crisis, and we're here for the fates. We're here all the time, Monday through Friday, between 4 and 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, and anytime during the night, days, or even on weekends if something happens. Now, something did happen last night. Okay? This is later on the evening after our program was over. Now, this happened. Okay? This happened. Now, I don't have any particulars about the tsunami itself, but there was no tsunami warning issued. There was absolutely no tsunami warning issued. Now, some people will say, yes, it was. There was not any tsunami warning issued except for the Tongan Islands. The Tongan Island Authority is the only authority that issued a tsunami warning at all. I want to make that very clear. The Tongan Island authorities were the only people that issued a tsunami warning. Okay? But no tsunami occurred. I'm going to explain why that happened in just a few minutes. Please stay with me here. Okay, this is important. This is very important for everybody. I want to make that very clear. Okay? I don't come on here to jack my jaws. I don't come on the air to hype people up. I don't come on the air to issue fear mongering. We don't do that. We don't do that here on this program. Never. Never is going to happen. Never will happen. I promise you that. Okay? Now, that 7.5 earthquake did happen last night. I'm going to show you a picture of that here in just a second here. Right here. The earthquake app that I used to put this up labeled this as red. That's because it was a major 7.0 plus earthquake. Anything 7.0 plus is labeled in red on this particular application. Now, this happened in the Tonga region. Now, look at the bottom part of this photo here, bottom part of this slide. You notice there's a circle around this earthquake. That is the damage area. That is the area where the shaking could be felt. Now, guys, I'm going to talk about shaking in just a few minutes. Stay with me about this, okay? There were some parts of Tonga and even possibly in Samoa that felt some kind of shaking. We'll talk about that. But I can't show you right now. I tried putting it up. I could not bring it up. I could not bring the tsunami warnings up, okay? Tonga, 7.5 earthquake. Tsunami information statement number 1. The National Weather Service Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, Honolulu, Hawaii, 5:44 p.m. Hawaii time, March 23rd, Monday, 2026. No tsunami threat from a distant earthquake. Audience was emergency managers, the media, and the general public. Emergency managers, the media, and the general public here. Now, guys, stay with me. The evaluation. An earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 7.6 occurred in the Tonga Islands at 5:38 p.m. SST Hawaii time on Monday, March 23rd, 2026. Some areas may have experienced strong shaking. Some areas may have experienced strong shaking in the Tonga region. Based on all available data here, there is no tsunami threat to American Samoa from this earthquake. Recommended actions, no actions required. Potential impacts, no tsunami impacts are expected. Preliminary earthquake parameters, magnitude 7.6. Origination time, 5:38 p.m. SST Hawaii time. Coordinates of the earthquake are 18.9 south, 175.0 west, a depth of 147 miles. Remember that number, 147 miles deep. That's still a fairly shallow earthquake, but it's not really shallow. Okay, it's semi-shallow earthquake, 147 miles deep. A shallow earthquake we typically put at 10 kilometers or 6.2 miles deep. This was 147 miles deep. Location Tonga. Next update and additional information, there's not going to be any. This is going to be the only statement issued for this event unless additional data are received as the situation changes. Further information about this event may be found on the internet at www.Tsunami.gov. Authoritative information about the earthquake from the U.S. Geological Survey can be found on the internet at USGS.gov. Earthquake.USGS.gov. Now, preliminary exactly for Hawaii now. That was the originating statement for the Tonga Samoa region. This is Hawaii. Specifically meant for Hawaii now. Okay? The National Weather Service Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, Honolulu, Hawaii, 6:47 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, Monday, March 23rd, 2026. 2 emergency managers in the state of Hawaii. Subject, tsunami information statement. This statement is for information only. No actions required. An earthquake has occurred with these preliminary parameters. Origination time, 06:38 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. 23 March 2026. Coordinates again, 18.9 south, 175.0 west. Location Tonga. Magnitude 7.6. You notice on the map it says 7.5. Okay, that's what they came out with this after evaluations were made. Evaluation here is based on all available data. A destructive Pacific-wide tsunami is not expected, and there is no tsunami threat to Hawaii. Repeat, there is no tsunami threat to Hawaii. Okay. This is the only statement that's going to be issued for this event unless additional data are received about Hawaii. Okay. Now, the next center came out as Tsunami Information Statement number 1, National Weather Service, Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, Honolulu, Hawaii, 2:47 p.m. CHST, Central Hawaii Standard Time, Tuesday, March 24, 2026. No tsunami threat to Guam, the central part of the Mariana Island Range, a distant earthquake. Audience, emergency managers, the media, and the general public. This is for Guam and the central part of the Mariana Island region. An earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 7.6 has occurred in the Tonga Islands at 2:38 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time on Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. Based on all available data here, there is no tsunami threat to Guam, Rota, Tinian, or Saipan from this earthquake. The Central Mariana region. Recommended actions, no actions required. Potential impacts. No tsunami impacts are expected. Preliminary earthquake parameters, magnitude 7.6, origination time 2:38 p.m. Central Hawaii Standard Time, March 24th, 2026. Coordinates again, 18.9 south longitude, 175.0 latitude west, at a depth again of 147 miles deep. Next update and additional information. This will be the only statement issued for this event unless additional data are received on the situation or it changes. Up in Alaska, for the United States, Alaska, Canada, and mainland United States, Tsunami Information Statement number 1. National Weather Service, National Tsunami Warning Center, Palmer, Alaska, 9:49 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Monday, March 23rd, 2026. Last night, 9:49 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. This is Tsunami Information Statement for Alaska, British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, and California. Evaluation. There is no tsunami danger to the U.S. West Coast, British Columbia, or Alaska, based on earthquake information and known historic tsunami records. The earthquake is not expected to generate a tsunami. An earthquake has occurred with parameters listed below. Preliminary earthquake parameters. Again, the following parameters are based on rapid preliminary assessment of the earthquake, and changes may occur. A magnitude 7.6 earthquake happened at 20:38 Alaska Daylight Time, March 23rd, 2026. 21:38, 9:38 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 04:38 UTC, and 24:38 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. 24 is 0024 hours. I'm sorry, 0038 hours Eastern Daylight Time. Coordinates are 18.9 degrees latitude south, 175 degrees longitude west, at a depth of 141 miles deep. 141 miles deep. Location near the Tonga Islands. Additional information next update. Refer to the internet site Tsunami.gov for more information. Pacific coastal regions outside California, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, and Alaska should refer to the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. Messages at Tsunami.gov. This is going to be the only U.S. National Tsunami Warning Center message issued for this event unless additional information becomes available. That's it. That's all they said. Okay. Now, again, the only agency that issued a tsunami warning was in Tonga. Only in Tonga. Okay. This is a big deal. I'm going to explain why. Okay, want everybody to realize this. We've talked about earthquakes in the South Pacific before. As I said, about 2018, before I came on the air, in 2018, in the Kermadec Islands, they had dozens of 7.0, 7.4, 7.6, and 7.8 earthquakes in the Kermadec Islands, which are just north of New Zealand. Okay, we've talked about big earthquakes before. We talked about the Japan earthquake, and I'm going to take down this earthquake in the Tonga region. I'm going to bring up the USGS map here real quick. Want to show you what we're talking about here. Again, this is important. I'm going to take down our EMA banner here. I'm going to take down our webcam as well for the time being. Okay, you see earthquakes over in the Rad Islands here. We're going to talk about that in a little while. Okay, but I want to make sure you understand what we're talking about here. I'm going to go over here and talk about Japan for a few minutes. Bear with me here. Hang in there with me. Okay, over here in Western Japan, right here. This is called the Noto Panhandle here, or the Noto Island area, west of Japan here. Okay, they had a big earthquake here. Big earthquake here. A major earthquake. The earthquake happened right here. Okay, but last night, we saw the largest earthquake of 2026 so far. A 7.6 that they later downgraded to 7.5 near Tonga with moderate shaking. Moderate shaking. I'm going to explain that as well. Residents of Tonga were told by authorities to evacuate in case of a tsunami, even though the U.S. Tsunami Warning Center said it was safe. That was probably pretty good advice. The islands are very shallow islands. They have very few hills. They have a volcano to evacuate to. Okay? On March 24th, 2026, a magnitude 7.5 earthquake struck near Tonga in the South Pacific. This was the largest earthquake of 2026 so far. The next largest was a February 22nd 7.0 earthquake near Borneo. We talked about that earthquake last month. That occurred 600 kilometers below Borneo. 600 kilometers below Borneo. That was a major earthquake. 7.0 plus is a 7.0 major earthquake, very deep earthquake. Okay, we have the information about this earthquake when it happened. Now, if you're thinking of 2026, seems like a slow year for earthquakes. We agree. It basically is. There have not been a lot of troublesome or notable damaging events for us to report. Most of the earthquakes so far here in 2026 that we've seen around the world have been 5.0 to 6.0 earthquakes. 5.0, 6.0 earthquakes so far. That's large to very large to 6.0, which are very strong earthquakes. However, the statistics of large earthquakes mean, hang in here with me, guys. Hang in here with me. You're going to want to know this. The statistics that we've seen so far of large earthquakes mean that this is actually not particularly unusual. This 7.5, 7.6 earthquake that occurred last night is not particularly unusual. There is a huge amount of variability from year to year. Now, I think we've only had a handful of 6.0 earthquakes so far, just a small handful, since January and February this year. Very strong earthquakes, 6.0 plus earthquakes. For instance, in 2025 last year, we saw 7.5 plus earthquakes around the globe. 7.5 plus earthquakes around the globe. The first one was on February 8th last year. February 8th last year. In contrast, in 2024, 2 years ago, they only had one on January 1st. That was in Noto, Japan, I just showed you here. January 1st, 2024. We talked about this. We did an extensive airing on this earthquake. We talked about the damages. We talked about people injured and unalived. We were extensive about it. Why? Because the people in Japan are more suited for major earthquakes than we are here in the United States or anywhere else. They're most suited to take care of these earthquakes, but yet there was still over 300 people unalived and over 300 people injured in Noto, Japan, on this peninsula here. We talked about it. In 2022, 4 years ago, the first 7.5 earthquake event did not happen until September 10th of that year. September 10th, 2025, or 2022, excuse me. And it was followed just 9 days later by another one, completely unrelated. The most recent year with no 7.5 earthquakes at all was 1982. 1982, they saw no 7.5 earthquakes at all. That isn't common. It is certainly part of the normal range of behavior of earthquakes. Okay? It is important not to read too much into this pattern of large earthquakes. Please don't read into this, guys. This is important. These kinds of statistics become more normalized when we look over much longer time periods. When we look over much longer time periods, it becomes much more normalized. Or when we extend data sets to include smaller magnitude events, which occur much more frequently. Those kind of earthquakes occur more frequently. Let me take down the USGS map for just a minute here. Okay? I want to show you some slides here. Okay? For example, this. These are all the earthquakes so far in the South Pacific between Samoa, Tonga, Vanuatu, all the way down to New Zealand. This is encompassing New Zealand, all the way up to Tonga and Samoa, and over to Vanuatu. These are all the earthquakes that have happened so far this year. But let's look at the total crustal earthquakes. Earthquakes closer to the surface. This is it. These are all the total of crust earthquakes closer to the surface. Okay? What does that mean? When we have large earthquakes closer to the surface, what does it mean? It's going to mean the shaking is going to be more realized because it's closer to the surface. Anybody closer to that earthquake is going to feel that earthquake. When the deeper earthquakes happen, there's not a whole lot of people going to feel those earthquakes, except if it's very large or a very major earthquake. Minor earthquakes are not felt at all. Tremors are not felt at all. Microquakes are not felt at all. 3.0 small quakes can only be realized if the quake is near the surface. If the quake is very shallow near the surface. 4.0, 4.9. Those are called light earthquakes by the USGS. I have called them moderate earthquakes for as long as I can remember. Why? Because USGS used to say they were moderate earthquakes for as long as I can remember, even back in college and high school days. Moderate earthquakes 4.0, 4.9. They can be felt. They can knock pictures off of walls. They can knock knickknacks and books off of shelves. I want to make this very clear. These moderate earthquakes can do moderate damage. Large 5.0, 5.9 can destroy buildings, can destroy property of all kinds. 6.0 and larger are very destructive earthquakes and large earthquakes can unalive people as well. But 6.0 and larger, all the way through major earthquakes, are very destructive and can unalive almost anybody in the area. We talked about this before. We talked about major earthquakes before. It's very interesting. Just a few minutes ago, we had 40 plus people in the chat here watching this program. Now we have 34. People aren't interested in earthquakes. Why not? Why are you not interested? The simple reason is this. If it didn't happen in your area, it doesn't apply to you. Guess what? You don't know it's not going to happen to you. You just don't know whether it's going to happen to you or not. It will. It can and will happen. It can and will happen. That's why we talk about this. We want to give you this information because you need it. You need to have it. Without it, you could die. You could be unalived. Your family could be taken from you. We give you this information for a reason. To make yourself safe. To make you and your family safer. Again, in 1982, there were no 7.5 earthquakes at all. Major 7.5 earthquakes at all. This is not common. It's certainly not a part of the normal range of behavior of earthquakes. It is important not to read too much into the patterns of large earthquakes. Don't read too much into it. But these kinds of statistics become more normalized when we look over longer periods of time. Or we extend the data sets out to include smaller magnitude events, which occur much more frequently. So far, what we've had in 2026 is normal, totally normal, at least as earthquakes go. We won't make any claims for the general state of things as well. I'm not going to make any claims of anything about the war in Iran or what's going on in Ukraine or anything else. Can't do that. I won't do that. But the other reason this might feel like a slow year for earthquakes is because larger earthquakes that have happened have been pretty uneventful. They don't tend to make news when they're out in the Pacific Ocean. They don't tend to make news when they're in between islands where there's no people involved, nobody around, no populations have been hurt. When the earthquakes are more prevalent, it's because they hit on land or near land where people feel these earthquakes. This earthquake, this 7.5, 7.6 earthquake was out in the ocean. But because it was a powerful earthquake, look at that circle out here. Look at that circle shaking out here. That's what that circle here means. Some part of the shaking could be possibly felt all the way down into New Zealand, northern New Zealand. The shaking could be felt in Tonga Islands. In the Tonga Islands here, guys. There is numerous islands here in Tonga, all over. Literally all over here. Some people may have felt this earthquake, or may have felt some part of the earthquake. Now, this is far enough away from any island so far. Far away from any island so far. The most people did not feel the shaking on the islands. They felt some part of the shaking, but not the 7.5 earthquake shaking. They may have felt as much as a 5.5, 5.0 large earthquake. They may have felt that. All over Tonga or even over into Samoa. I want to make that clear. Also over in Fiji. All over Fiji may have felt some maybe 5.0, 5.5 shaking. The further you get away from the main shock, the less and less of the shaking you're going to feel. As I said before, this earthquake was 147 miles deep. Semi-deep quake. Semi-deep quake. But again, the further you get away from it, the less and less shaking you're going to feel. I want to make this point perfectly clear here. This is important. Okay? When the earthquake hit here, okay, we had a 7.0 hit in Borneo, deep underneath Borneo, 600 kilometers deep. Deep earthquakes are not that widely felt because the deeper they are, the less you're going to feel them at the surface. Yes, they're going to feel something at the surface, but they're not going to feel the full effect of the 7.0 earthquake at the surface. Okay? The people around Borneo and in that general area, okay, they were all at least 600 kilometers away from the surface, or not the surface, but they're 600 kilometers away from the shaking, the main shaking. This latest earthquake falls in the kind of the same similar category. While the shaking was not as deep, 230 kilometers, 147 miles, 230 kilometers deep, versus 630 kilometers deep, the Borneo quake. That's still a big difference. From a crustal earthquake near the surface, shaking near the surface, or shaking very deep. Again, we've talked about earthquakes being 10 kilometers, 6.2 miles deep. That is really a very shallow crustal earthquake. Crustal earthquakes can cause more damage. Crustal earthquakes cause more damage here. Furthermore, this is a remote area here. The nearest island is 160 kilometers away. Despite this remoteness, the USGS system estimates that about 24,000 people probably experienced some kind of intense shaking as a large 5.0 earthquake. USGS estimates, and there is no tremors felt. There's no felt reports on this earthquake. But USGS estimates that probably 24,000 people felt Category 5 shaking, intensity 5 shaking, large earthquake. Another 83,000 are broad estimates, felt moderate shaking, Category 4.04.9. 83,000 people felt moderate shaking. Again, these estimates are broad estimates, based mostly on a pretty generic model for how shaking scales occur with magnitude and distance of the earthquakes, combined with the did you feel it reports of USGS. I want to make that clear. The shaking estimates contours at the bottom of the surface of the bottom of the ocean. Shaking occurs at the bottom of the ocean when the ocean bottom splits off, when the ocean bottom falls. Okay? The intensive 4 contour has a prominent jog where it meets an island. Okay? A Category 4 type of earthquake has a prominent jog where it meets an island. Well, the data is used to modify the model. That data is used to modify the model here. Now it's very clear this map could use more data here than we're showing you here. It's very clear. The map could use more data. The flip side of this, of course, is that most of this area has little data. Most of this area is without any data at all because it's under the ocean. So maybe it doesn't matter very much. I think it does, though. There are some seismographs on the islands. But most of these seismographs are not even being used by USGS at all. That's what's sad. The United States Geological Survey is not using the seismographs on the islands. I found that out. I've been up most of the night looking at data. Since this earthquake occurred, I've had very little sleep. I've been pulling up information about this earthquake. And I was very sad to find out the USGS is not even using any data from the seismographs on the islands. Soul Shaker is asking, will Fiji get a tsunami? No, it's over. That part of it is over. There was no tsunami shaking at all, or no shaking that originated tsunami at all. There was no tsunami anywhere around this Pacific basin. None. I covered this at the beginning of this program. There were no tsunamis at all. A warning was issued by Tonga only for an advisory. The United States Pacific Tsunami Warning Center said there were no tsunamis issued, no tsunami warnings issued except for Tonga. Tonga may have done it for safety purposes, and I agree with that idea. Basically, safety purposes, just in case it was a tsunami that happened. But no tsunami was issued here. No tsunami actually happened. Okay? Now, the takeaway of all this, okay? Estimates are just that, estimates. And estimates may diverge from actual ground shaking, particularly in those areas with very few seismographs. Interesting. Those data, those estimates can be very divergent from the actual ground shaking because USGS is not using any data from the seismographs on the ground on the islands. Crazy. You would think that USGS would be using that data. They're not. It's also interesting to know USGS doesn't even have any data for most earthquakes. USGS does not have any data for most earthquakes. Why? It's only estimated. They heard an earthquake happened. They estimate what happens. Because they are not actually monitoring the seismographs in those areas. I was flabbergasted by that idea. I thought for sure, since they had earthquakes here, they put them out here on the map, that they would actually be putting up actual data, which they do not. These are only estimated earthquakes. Now, this is in contrast to well-instrumented areas like Southern California, where the seismographs and felt reports are actually dense. Even the generic models has relatively no influence. The generic models of earthquakes in California, for example, Southern California, have relatively little influence over the actual data. That's because seismographs are all prevalent all over Southern California, and USGS is actually using those. Crazy, huh? It absolutely is. Now, let's talk about the difference here. Difference is not very important here, but it can be stark in regions with high population densities. That's the difference. What happened yesterday in Tonga and Samoa, in that Fiji region, the population is very sporadic all over the islands. But over in California, for example, it's very dense populations. That's the difference. The USGS only monitors where it's very dense populations because they want to know what's going to happen in those dense populated areas, such as San Diego, Los Angeles, the greater LA area. Now, we've talked a lot about the Imperial Valley of Southern California. We talked about the Salton Sea, a volcano in the southern Salton Sea area. They have seismographs there. But guess what? because the population densities are very small, relatively very small. I very much doubt that they're using any seismograph except for maybe El Centro. USGS has cut off all seismographs, period, to the general public as of late. I'll keep you informed on that as we go forward. But now I've found out that they are not monitoring the seismographs where there is not dense populated people. They don't monitor seismographs where there is a less dense population. That's insane. It really is. Now, to give you an idea, an intensity 5.0 earthquake is typically widely felt, a large earthquake. It'll cause some windows or dishes to break, widely felt. An intensity level 4.0 or 4.5 can cause cars to rock or even feel like a truck hit your building. They likely can cause objects to fall off walls and books and knickknacks to fall off the shelves. Intensity 5 shaking is expected to cause building damage. As far as we are aware, no damage has been reported from the 7.5 earthquake in the Tonga region. No damage has been reported at all. Doesn't matter whether it's the Tongan Islands, the Fiji Islands, over to the northwest or northeast in Samoa, or even down into New Zealand. No damage has been reported down in New Zealand as well. Okay. What was probably more disruptive than this earthquake was the associated tsunami warning. No tsunami warning at all. In the past earthquakes that we've been monitoring for you, we've told you that a 6.5 earthquake is when they start putting up tsunami warnings. They don't much look at any other object unless it's 6.4 or large, 6.5 or larger. That causes tsunami for sure. What happened down here in the Tonga region? Major 7.5 earthquake. But this again was a semi-deep earthquake. Semi-deep earthquake. Yes, 147 miles deep is a substantial deep earthquake, moderately deep earthquake, but it is not a shallow earthquake. Shallow is 6.0 or 6.2 miles deep to 10 kilometers deep. That's it. That is a very shallow earthquake, right near the surface. Again, this was 147 miles deep, 230 kilometers deep. Okay. USGS did not, and the United States Pacific Tsunami Warning Center did not issue a tsunami warning at all. That's probably more disruptive because usually, again, they issue a warning for anything 6.5 and larger. That didn't happen. In general, we recommend that anyone located in a coastal area should treat ground shaking as a natural tsunami alert. Ground shaking as a natural tsunami alert. In the absence of more information, they should move out of the flood zone away from the coastline, just in case. That's what the people in Tonga did. That's what the authorities did in Tonga. They issued a Tonga area only tsunami warning to go evacuate to the nearest area that's higher ground. Nearest higher ground. That's what they did. When this earthquake occurred, the Tonga National Risk Management Center office issued official tsunami warning, activating the tsunami sirens all over the islands. They activated their tsunami sirens all over the islands. In contrast, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center said nothing's happened. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center monitors tsunami sources across the whole Pacific Ocean, the entire Pacific Basin from Alaska down to the south in the South Pacific Islands, even down into New Zealand, Australia, and over to Southeast Asia. But they chose not to issue a warning at all. Why the difference? Well, an earthquake at 230 kilometers deep can really not trigger a tsunami. A deep earthquake cannot trigger a tsunami. Submarine earthquakes raise tsunamis when slip on a fault changes. When slip on a fault changes the shape of the seafloor. The slip on the fault changes the bottom of the seafloor. It pushes the bottom overlying floor of the ocean down or up in a specific location. The slip, earthquake slip, the deformation of the seafloor. The deflection of the sea surface will ultimately relax back to standard sea level, but not before waves are emitted by the rebounding ocean surface. Rebounding ocean surface. Again, when we have an earthquake near the surface of the bottom of the ocean, part of the ocean bottom goes either down or up. Down or up. When that happens, the water at the seashore, the water at the seashore rushes out into that depth area where the earthquake surface area went down. The water wants to fill the void, so the water rushes away from the surface of the seashore, rushes back out to sea to fill in that void in the ocean. When that happens, the water rushes out to fill that void, and then it comes back like this. Huge tsunami like this. Rushes back to the seashore. That's when we have damage from tsunami. Okay? The deflection of the sea surface will ultimately relax back to standard sea levels, but not before waves are emitted by the rebounding ocean surface. Any irregularity, I repeat, any irregularity in the sea surface, bumps or troughs, creates waves. As the higher areas try to fill in the lower areas, the higher areas try to fill in the lower areas. This mechanism only works when the fault that is activated is close enough to the surface, close enough to Earth's surface for the slip to affect the land surface, within upper 100 kilometer limits, within enough surface slip to make a difference, Okay? If it's only like 2 to 3 inches, it's not going to make a big deal. But when we have a huge surface slip like this, then it's an entirely different situation. Okay? But when we have deep earthquakes, this kind of surface slip does not happen. Doesn't happen. At magnitude 7.5, this earthquake had a lot of slip, but it was very deep, 200 kilometers deep. So the effect at the Earth's surface should have been very tiny. By this standard, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center was correct in not issuing a tsunami because there was no surface area at the bottom of the ocean where there was enough slip to cause a tsunami. Didn't happen. However, like I said, the Tonga National Disaster Risk Management Office was also not wrong to release a tsunami warning for the islands. There are a few reasons. First, the depth of an earthquake is a derived parameter with significant uncertainty, and unmistakably marking an earthquake as safe due to an incorrect depth determination would be a very major mistake. USGS has made huge major mistakes before. They're aware of it. They're aware of it. But in this case, they thought, because this was a semi-deep earthquake, they did not issue tsunami warning because the bottom of the ocean did not have any significant difference after the earthquake from before the earthquake. No significant difference between the bottom of the ocean before and after the earthquake. Second, the direct changes in seafloor geometry are not the only way that earthquakes can lead to tsunamis. The shaking from the earthquake can trigger submarine landslides. Landslides, guys, just like we have landslides on land, they have landslides out in the ocean all the time. All the time. Okay? Earthquakes can trigger submarine landslides, which raise tsunamis themselves. Landslides under the sea can raise tsunamis as well. Okay? This mechanism is very difficult to track because landslides do not have obvious seismic signals. Most of the time, nobody can even understand where a landslide occurred unless there's someone down there watching it happen. Either a submarine or a diver on the bottom of the ocean. That rarely ever happens. Okay? So you might not know the tsunami is coming until it arrives, especially if there's a landslide. You might know whether a tsunami occurs or not until it arrives. Similarly, a large, deep earthquake could possibly trigger a slower but still tsunami-genic rupture. A tsunami-genic rupture here. Okay? Tsunami-genic, meaning a landslide earthquake. Landslide earthquake that nobody even felt. But because it happened on the bottom of the ocean, it could trigger a submarine landslide tsunami or a rupture on a surface fault. A surface fault. That would be very difficult to sense. Because again, the USGS is not even monitoring the bottom of the ocean most of the time out here. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center cannot track these kinds of tsunamis using seismographs. So it typically does not consider them unless the surface water moves. The surface water moves. How can they monitor that? Through what they call dart buoys. Dart buoys. Buoys out in the ocean that are attached to the bottom of the sea by weights. These buoys bob up and down in the water like this. When there's a significant surface level change, that's when that buoy sends out a signal that there's been something happening on the bottom of the ocean. The buoy puts out a signal that something happened out there. They can signal how far down the buoy dropped and how far up the buoy went after the water came back up. The Tonga National Disaster Risk Management Office took a more conservative approach last night to better be safe than sorry. Now, let's go back to 2022 here. The 2022 eruption of the Hunga volcano may weigh in on their decision. Why? When the Hunga volcano erupted on January 15, 2022, the resulting eruptive plume was unusually large, fueled in part by the seawater mixing with gases from the volcano, turning to steam. The violent eruption raised a tsunami with waves that locally reached 45 meters or 135 feet high. That violent eruption of the Tonga volcano raised the water levels high enough, 45 meters high, 135 meters high, or 135 feet high. That is a mega tsunami range. That is a mega tsunami range. Now, what have we been talking about when we talk about the Cascade and megathrust earthquake? We said that that earthquake could generate a huge tsunami, anywhere from 50 feet all the way up to 150 feet high. About 50 meters, 150 feet high. A mega tsunami range. Cascadia megathrust earthquake, guys. That's why we're talking about Cascadia often, guys. We talk about Cascadia very often because it can happen. We believe it might happen within the next 5 years. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't. Given the intensity of earthquakes we still have in the Pacific Northwest, and also the number of earthquakes we have, the size of the earthquakes and the number of earthquakes come into this picture here. Okay. Now the waves of the Tonga volcano are generated not just by the initial outward eruption. The waves were not generated just by the outward eruption, but also by the collapse of water back into the underwater crater. The collapse of water back into the underwater crater. Just like we have water rushing away from the seashore, this involvement here, water was falling back in the ocean, filling that void, then it came back out of the ocean like this, a tsunami. The volcanic eruption there killed several people in Tonga, despite the fact that tsunami warnings had been sent out. We talked about the earthquake, that volcano when it happened. We covered that volcano significantly. Furthermore, that eruption caused an atmospheric pressure wave high in the atmosphere. That, coupled with the water at the ocean surface driving waves, reached much further than the source might have otherwise expected. Okay? The wave of the ocean, the tsunami wave action in the ocean, the water raising up from the original eruption of the volcano also caused an atmospheric pressure wave way up in the atmosphere, upper atmosphere, driving those sonic waves high in the atmosphere around the globe, entirely around the globe 2 to 3 times. 2 to 3 times, guys. So far in our history, the Aveyah volcano was the biggest huge volcanic eruption we've ever seen. Biggest earthquake and biggest atmospheric pressure wave we've ever seen. Okay? It took scientists some time to untangle this phenomena and model the tsunami in an environment where unexpected tsunamis have already occurred. They've already occurred in the South Pacific. It seems natural to ask residents to be extra careful of any potential tsunami. That's what they did in Tonga last night. Even when the standard models seem to give the all clear, which is what the U.S. Tsunami Warning Center did. They gave it all clear. But the islands in the area gave out a tsunami warning, and they put up sirens, and that was probably a good idea. Then let's talk about the tectonic setting. Let's talk about the tectonic setting where this happened. Let me reduce this slide to a smaller slide here. Look where this happened. This happened at the part of the earthquake fault here, the Tonga Ridge here, the Tonga Ridge. This is the edge of the tectonic plate here. This is the edge of the tectonic plate you see right there. Okay? Why did this earthquake occur here in this remote area of the South Pacific? As we discussed back in February in Borneo, deep earthquakes are almost always tied to deep subduction. Deep subduction, one plate going deep under the other, just like this. Deep subduction. Okay? These areas of the Pacific Ocean is the largest subduction area in the world. Okay? In some cases, these long ago subducted slabs underneath the other tectonic plate, they're there. When the tectonic plate slips again, the subductive slabs are already moving. They're moving as well, causing more earthquake shaking. The already subductive slabs way down here are causing even more shaking. Shaking originates up here. Shaking originates up here, where the one slab starts sliding up here and then goes deeper and deeper into the earth. Okay? The slabs of material used to be oceanic surface. Those deep slabs used to be oceanic surface. And when they sank into the mantle, they carried with them colder temperatures, as well as minerals that had formed or equilibrated at shallower depths. They start at shallow, the minerals and such start at shallower depths. It is this temperature range and chemistry that allows earthquakes to occur at depths other than the shallower depths. The temperature and chemistry of these slabs are where otherwise the rocks are simply too hot or even too squishy to break. The further they get down into the mantle, those slabs become more squishy and less easily to break. They're deforming. They're deforming instead of being the thickest, at least convenient, like toothpaste. They're deforming. They're deforming, guys. They're becoming different than the surface. They're turning into probably the least convenient type of toothpaste. Very, very, very viscous and very, very pliable. They're turning more into magma. The deeper they go, the harder they get, the hotter they get, turns more into like magma. Okay? This latest 7.5 earthquake is no exception to the deep earthquake occur in slabs rule. It's no exception to the deep earthquake occur in slabs rule. This is the Tonga Kermadec Ridge, the Tonga subduction zone here. Reaches from near Samoa in the north to central New Zealand in the south. A distance of more than 3,000 kilometers long. 3,000 kilometers long here, guys. The Pacific plate is also moving about 8 centimeters to the west every year. The Pacific plate is moving 8 kilometers west every year. 3 kilometers is 1 inch. 3 kilometers is 1 inch. In this case, this is like 4 inches of movement every year. That's no small wonder that we have so many earthquakes in these South Pacific Islands, because that Pacific plate is moving 8 inches a year. Incredible. I'm sorry, 4 inches a year. 8 centimeters, like 4 inches a year. This is where the edge of the tectonic plate is. When the plates collide, the Australian plate comes out on top here. The Australian plate comes out on top here. The Pacific plate is the one that gives way, sinking deep beneath Tonga. Deep beneath Tonga here. The recent 7.5 earthquake occurred when this plate started to bend and break. The Pacific plate started to bend and break. That's why this 7.5 earthquake hit. Okay? Does everybody understand that? Like I said, I've been doing a lot of research overnight and literally all day today. I want you to understand that. Okay? Now let's bring up the USGS map again. Let's back this out. That's Japan. Okay? Let's go back down here. Okay? Right here. This is the location of this 7.5 earthquake. USGS is only showing 3 aftershocks. 3 aftershocks here, guys. Isn't that interesting? This is a 5.2 earthquake. Large 5.2 earthquake. This one, closer to the 7.5, is a 4.6. 4.6 earthquake, guys. This one further away is a 4.9, 5.0. Okay? What are they not showing us? What do you think they're not showing us here, guys? What are they not showing us here? Okay? Let me show you something here. I want you to see this. This is that 4.9 right there. Okay? This is that 5.2. This is that 4.6 here. Okay? Again, look at the USGS map here. Look at this USGS map. This is far away from any island that no island that even felt this earthquake. They may have felt part of it, like I said earlier. They may have felt a 5.0 type of shaking, large shaking. Buildings may have become damaged here on the Alpha Tonga. May have. We have no reports of damage at all. Nothing. Not a thing. Let's go further here to the north. We also have 2 earthquakes recorded here. Okay? This is another 5.0 earthquake here. 4.9, 5.0 earthquake here. Right next to it is a 4.8. This was 6.2 miles deep. This is also 6.2 miles deep. While the others, this one was a lot deeper, isn't it? 142 miles, 230 kilometers deep. Okay? It's no small wonder that nobody on the islands felt that 7.5 earthquake. They possibly even felt a 5.0, even a 4.4, 4.5. Not the complete 7.5 earthquake here. And again, we don't have any damage reports from these islands at all. Nothing's come out. Nothing's come out. we have any questions about this at all today? I wanted to make sure you understood what happened here. I think it's very important. I think it's very important here. Does anybody have any questions? I'll be happy to answer them here. As I said before, I spent a great deal of time today poring over information, making sure you have the information necessary to even make decisions if you got hit by the earthquake itself. Now, it's very less possible, very, very little possibility you'll ever see a 7.5 earthquake in your lifetime. Those people over in the Cascadia region, Washington, Oregon area, look out. Look out. You folks in that Cascadia region, look out. Vancouver Island area, look out. You guys might feel that earthquake. You guys might feel that earthquake because you're right next to it. It won't be a deep earthquake. It will be a shallow earthquake. It will be a shallow earthquake. Okay? No sound. Oh, that's weird. Hey guys, do we have any sound now? David Catman says 5x5 where he's at. My buddy Don says reboot 5x5 where he's at. We have sound here. I've been monitoring sound here. My soundboard here says we have sound here. That's good. Renee, please reboot your system so you can get us here. Okay? Please reboot your system so you can understand what's going on here. I don't want you to miss anything. Okay? Now, some other things have happened during the last 24 hours. Quite a few things more have happened. Okay? Now, I want to give you some more information here. During the past 48 hours, actually maybe 60 hours, last 60 hours, okay? President Trump deployed ICE to the airports. President Trump deployed ICE to the airports. What happened? What happened? Again, the Democrat Communist Party of America said they didn't want ICE anywhere. But ICE's budget already had been approved a couple months ago. ICE's budget had already been approved. So Democrats, in their infinite wisdom, decided to make sure that Homeland Security would not have any budget. So they took Homeland Security budget away. What did it do? It took jobs out of FEMA, put people on the street in FEMA, took the Transportation Safety Agency, TSA, offline at the airports, took them out of the airports. What happened? What happened? All of a sudden, within a 2 weeks time period, TSA agents could no longer afford to work. They had to take supplemental jobs to make the rent and to buy food for themselves and their families to eat. Fewer and fewer TSA agents were at the airports, which made sure that passengers trying to board planes had to stay offline and stay in the airports up to 4 to 5 hours long before they got to the planes. 4 or 5 hour waits at the security checkpoints in the airports. President Trump got tired of it on Sunday. He ordered ICE agents in the airports. Guess what happened? In the early morning hours of yesterday, 4 hour lines in the airports. within 3 hours, within 3 hour time period. The wait time period went down to 40 minutes. The wait time period went down to 40 minutes. And ICE throughout this country started making arrests of all kinds of illegal aliens. They arrested a communist from Guatemala that tried to disrupt things at the terminal. It turns out that woman was not even a legal citizen of this country. Yet she was making waves for ICE, against ICE at the airport. They arrested her and a bunch of her compatriots. Code Pink went into the airports as well, raising all kinds of hate and discontent at the airport. Guess what? Atlanta police were ready for them. They surrounded those Code Pink protesters, surrounded them and took them outside the airport. And when those protesters started getting violent, they all went to jail as well. Not only did ICE make arrests of illegal aliens in the airport, Atlanta police also did that, and so did police throughout this country. That's what happened. ICE agents are in the airports now. They're all over the airports now. You can see them on the news reports all over the area. They're going to continue to do so. While the progressive liberal Democrats got all heated up and twisted their underwear, trying to say it's illegal and unjustified, guess what? They put themselves in jeopardy of being arrested themselves. Some of them got very violent. 2 illegal aliens in Atlanta had not come here legally, and they let their temporary visas expire without even trying to become legal citizens. They were arrested. They're now going to be deported. While those people were protesting, saying you have to have a warrant to arrest them. No, you don't. You do not have to have a warrant to arrest anyone. In order to search a vehicle or search a house, you have to have a warrant. When police arrest anybody, including ICE, ICE are police. They're federal police, guys. Federal agents are police. When ICE arrests anybody, they have the legal authority to make sure that nobody's going to hurt them. They have the legal authority to search anybody for weapons. Weapons. Guess what? In searching for weapons, guess what I found in the past? Guess what I've found in the past when I've searched individuals, searched suspects? Yes, I've found weapons. I've also found drugs. A pat down, you can find drugs. Pat downs, you can find drugs. I did not legally go in anybody's pockets unless I had justified opportunity to say something else is in there. Then I can legally go into their pockets and take it out. Yes, you can. Warrants for arrest do not discriminate if kids are present. Yes, you can have kids present saying, oh, you can't arrest me, I've got my kids. Guess what? Police arrest people even though their kids are present. What happens when a dad is drunk driving or mom is drunk driving? Do you tell me we can't arrest you because you're drunk driving and your kids are there? Guess what? You're going to be arrested. We're going to call the next of kin. We're going to call your family. We're going to call your relatives or your friends to take custody of your kids. Guess what happens? If we can't find the next of kin, we can't find family or friends, your kids are going to go into a place where they can also be deported with you. They'll go into holding for kids, not into holding for adults, but holding for kids. It will be explained to them they're going to see their mother very soon. When that arrest occurs, within a very short time period, the parents and the kids are reunited and put on planes and deported back to the countries. They are not deported without their children, but they can be arrested whether the children are present or not. I want to make that very clear. The long lines at airports are over. Long lines at airports are over. The Democrat liberals cut their own throats here. They cut their own throats here, guys. The Democrats thought that if they cut the Homeland Security budget, it would harm President Trump. They were wrong. They were wrong. The people stood up and said, no, you're not going to do this to us. You're not going to do this to us. Don't have that right. The Democrat Party is in a lot of trouble. Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrat leader in the House, and Chuck Schumer in the Senate are in deep, loaded trouble. They put Congress in a position to stop TSA from moving, put federal employees in a big pinch. Now that big pinch is over for the time being. Democrats realize that ICE is in the airports. They didn't want them there. They wanted to defund ICE. That did not happen. That did not happen at all. But FEMA, parts of Homeland Security, and all of TSA were put on notice they no longer had paying jobs. Yes, they had jobs, but they weren't going to get paid until the Senate approved a bill to pay them. On Sunday, Elon Musk came forward, said he will pay for TSA salaries. Instantly, the Democrats said, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. Why not? There is no provision for anyone. There's no provision for anyone to be stopped from paying TSA salaries. But instantly, the Democrats thought they could get away with it. They didn't. Sunday, President Trump put ICE in the airports. All of a sudden, Monday morning, within the 3-hour time periods, the wait went down from 4 hours to 40 minutes. The wait lines are over. Wait lines are over. And we are arresting even more illegal aliens in the airports. Fancy that, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, who's now going to be out of a job in November. Yeah, she's going to be out of a job in November. These people failed in what they're going to do. They failed in what they're going to do. Guess what else, guys? Guess what else happened yesterday? Do you remember the woman was jailed by Governor Polis in Colorado? What happened? Last year, there was a woman named Tina Peters. Tina Peters, a Gold Star mom, was put in jail for trying to expose the 2020 election fraud. Trying to expose election fraud in 2020. Guess what? What happened on Sunday? What happened Sunday with Tina Peters? President Trump gave that wonderful man, Governor Polis in Colorado, an ultimatum. Release Tina Peters. Release Tina Peters, guys. Guess what? She's being released right now. Tina Peters is a Gold Star mom that lost a son in the military. President Trump has demanded her immediate release right now. Governor Polis in Colorado is in a lot of trouble. He's in a lot of trouble. He knows for a fact that there was election fraud in Colorado. It is being exposed as we speak. Not only that, but he illegally arrested this person, this woman. Now, Governor Polis is probably going to go to jail himself. fact. That's a fact. The fraudulent activities by the Democrat Party are going to be taken down. The fraudulent activities by the Democratic Party are being taken down. It wasn't enough but to have Nick over in Minnesota, all over Minnesota, expose corruption fraud of the Somali people, taking taxpayer dollars, putting up child care centers and hospice centers that were not really hospice centers or child care centers at all. Now that same man, Nick, has gone to California and done the same thing. He's exposed billions of dollars in California as well. He's become a hero. Because the Democrat Party wanted to get away with murder. They wanted to commit fraud. That's why, this is exactly why, between President Trump and Elon Musk, they took away USAID. They absolved or dissolved USAID completely, which provided money to the illegal people to put up child care centers, taking Social Security money also, put up child care centers and hospital centers illegally, not doing anything. Now, Governor Newsom, we talked about in the past, Governor Polis, and the bozo governor in Minnesota are in a lot of trouble because they've all broken the law. They've all broken the law. What happened to Nick? Yes, Nick is being followed. He has his own security team now. But he's exposed a fraud. He's helping the country. He's helping the country now. Guys, justice is being served right now. Justice is being served right now. Now, guys, we can say things happen, right? Things happen. Now, guys, I truly believe things do happen. Guess what? In closing, I'm going to give you some funny now. Going to do a funny here. I don't often get to do this. Going to put a funny here. You guys are going to love this one. A truck carrying toupees crashed on the highway, spilling everything. Police are combing the area. Police are combing the area. Yes, that did actually happen, though. That did actually happen. But I thought I'd put that up as a funny here. Now, in closing this program tonight, as I've done in the past, I'm going to continue all week long here. I want to talk about the Easter message. I want to talk about the Easter message. I want to go back to what we have as Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday is 1 week before Christ enters Jerusalem for the final time. After he does that, a lot of things start happening. He has the Last Supper with these disciples. Then he takes some of the disciples after that and goes out into the Garden of Gethsemane. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he says, "You disciples that are with me, stay here and pray for me." Then Christ goes further into the garden and sits down or kneels down beside a rock and begins to pray as well. While he's praying, he sweats great drops of blood. Such anxiety, such grief, such pain. He sweats great drops of blood. He asked his heavenly Father, he asked his Father, Father, if it will be thy will, take this cup from me, but thine will be done, not mine. Christ goes back to the area where he left his disciples and found them asleep. Finds them asleep. He wakes them up. Brethren, I've asked you to pray. Pray for me, please. Christ goes back into the garden where he'd been praying and prays some more. Now, one of my friends, Richard Paul Evans, he wrote this poem I've shared with you for the past week. I'm sharing with you again. Oh Lord, if I could borrow just one breath from the night you walked in the garden alone, not to ask for miracles, not to beg for proof, but to feel what it was like to be enough, just enough, without the weight of tomorrow's promises. If you answered, I'd probably cry. Not because it hurt, but because I finally stopped pretending I knew how to carry it. So keep the stars, keep the thunder. Just let me sit here in the dark and believe you're listening. Let's do this, brothers and sisters. Let's think of Christ in the garden. Let's find a testimony for ourselves of Jesus Christ. Find a testimony within ourselves for Jesus Christ. Then try to help members of your family, your brothers and sisters, your children and grandchildren. Help them also find the testimony of Jesus Christ. Now, guys, I want to tell you something. When I was a little boy, my mother knelt down beside me, beside my bed, and taught me how to pray. She prayed with me many times. I remember that, right beside me. Even when my mother was so sick, I knelt down beside her and held her hand and prayed for her. She taught me how to pray. I've taught my children how to pray as well. I've encouraged my brothers and sisters. I've encouraged my children and grandchildren. Please do that with your own families. Please help spread the gospel of Jesus Christ to your families and those that you love and care about, your friends and neighbors. Share this program also with everybody you know, your family, your extended family, your friends and neighbors, the people you associate with on social media, and please also share it with the people you work with. I do not try to instill fear with this program. I do not try to also fearmonger. I don't do that. What we talk about this program is real. We want to save lives. That's why we talk about the things we do. Yes, we talk a lot about earthquakes. We talk about tsunamis. We talk about hurricanes. We talk about cyclones. By the way, there's a cyclone hitting Australia right now as we speak. We talk about winter storms that are hitting in the west central part of the United States and the mountains. Yes, there have been blowing snow going on as well. That's also carrying over to the mid-center part of this country and the northern part of the country. One day they've had 90-degree temperatures, and the next day it's 30 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius, freezing temperatures. In the northeastern part of the country, we're getting freezing temperatures there as well. Snow in Albany, New York. Unreal. It's happening. Guys, it's happening. Our weather is changing. Why do we talk about it? We're trying to save lives here. Trying to save lives. Brothers and sisters, I'm talking about each one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I love you. I care about you. I care about you like Christ cares about you as well. We love you. Carol and I pray for each of you every day, without fail, because we love you. Now, guys, if you care about this program, after this program is over, below this video that you're seeing today, YouTube is going to open up a comment area. Please leave us positive comments for this program. Please leave us positive comments for this program. We appreciate that. Okay? Also, if you will, you see our PayPal address that's going across the bottom of your screen. Please go there and leave us a donation as well. We'd appreciate it. Very much appreciate it. Keep this program on the air. You see our address going across the bottom of your screen as well. 504 Bethel Road, Box 401. Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code here is 28655. You send us a letter, send us a card. We'd appreciate that as well. Carol and I love cards. Carol loves that especially. Inside your card or letter, you can stick a donation inside that card or letter, cash or a check, and send it to us. We get those. We get those. We don't get enough of them. We just get them all the time now. It's very little. We'd appreciate that as well. Also, you see our email address going across on your screen as well. Go there and leave us comments, leave us questions or ideas, what you want to see on this program. We'll make sure that happens. RLT, NSPD, EMA at gmail.com. We appreciate your attentiveness to this program. We appreciate you sharing this program far and wide. We love each and every one of you. God loves you as well. Now, guys, we will be back on the air tomorrow afternoon, same time, same station, sometime after between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We'll be here for you. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. I tell you that all the time because I care. It's the truth. We care. We love you. We hope you have a good night and better tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon with another episode of the Emergency Management Associates on the air. Take care, everybody. God bless. See you soon. Good night.
Emergency Management Associates, we're dedicated and true, bringing you the essential knowledge, helping you see things through. From disaster preparedness to navigating recovery's embrace, we're here to guide you in every unpredictable time and place. Complex, make it easy to grasp and absorb, sharing strategies for safety, the vital lessons you can't afford to hoard. So thank you for watching, and thank you so much for your sub. You're a key part of our growing family, a member of our knowledge club. With every like, every share, and every comment you send our way, our critical message spreads further, helping more people every single day. Together we're stronger and more prepared. That's the truth we all abide. You help us build resilience with nowhere for uncertainty to hide. Your engagement truly inspires us. Your feedback acts as a guiding light, helping us continually grow and making our channel's future bright. We're always learning, always striving to be better. Bring you the most up-to-date information, no matter the weather. Emergency Management Associates is here for you now and forever, it's true. Keep watching, keep learning, because we truly appreciate all that you do. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We love you. Take care.